This is my 7th video lesson for the Covalent Bond unit. In this lesson, we'll be learning how to name covalent compounds. Let's go to page 25 in the class packet. Motivation. What are the rules for naming binary covalent compounds, CO2 and CO? Then apply the same rules to CH4. Take a moment to do that. Learning target. At the end of the lesson, I'll be able to name binary covalent compounds. Homework number 7 will be a Junipod based off this lesson. Let's go over the nomenclature rules for covalent compounds. Here I have a generic binary covalent compound. X and Y are the nonmetals, A and B are the subscripts. For the first nonmetal, the name stays the same. You only add a prefix if the subscript is greater than 1. If the subscript is 1, you do not add a prefix. For the second nonmetal, the main endings changes to IDE and you always have a prefix. There is an additional rule involving vowels. When you add your prefix, if there's an OO or AO, you have to drop the A or the O before the oxide. For example, monooxide becomes monoxide, tetraoxide becomes tetroxide. You only do this with A and O. Keep in mind, in the chemical formula, element Y is more electronegative than element X. So in a binary covalent compound, the less electronegative element is written first, and the more electronegative element is written second. Here are the prefixes that correspond to the number of atoms. If you have 1 atom, that is mono. If you have 2 atoms, it is di. If you have 3, it's tri. 4 is tetra. 5 is penta. 6 is hexa. 7 is hepta. 8 is octa. 9 is nona. 10 is deca. These are the same prefixes for shapes and geometry. I am going to do a couple examples. What is the IUPAC chemical name of CO2? Your first step is what's the name of the first element? So C is carbon. Is there a prefix for carbon? Since carbon is the first element, it only has a prefix if the subscript is greater than 1. Since carbon have a subscript of 1 in CO2, there is no prefix. The third step is what's the name of the second nonmetal? The second nonmetal is oxygen, and we have to change the ending to IDE. So that's oxide. Does oxide have a prefix? Since oxygen is the second element, it always has the prefix, and since the subscript is 2, the prefix is di. So now you put the two things together, it will be carbon dioxide. Is the chemical name of CO2. What is the chemical formula of carbon monoxide? So this time we're given the name and we have to get the chemical formula. The first step is to see what elements do you see in the chemical name. You see carbon and oxygen. Your next step is to figure out how many atoms of carbon and oxygen. So since carbon does not have a prefix, we have 1 carbon, because since it's the first element. For the second element, which is oxygen, mono means 1. So there's only 1 oxygen as well. Next, we write the chemical formula. That would be CO. Subscript 1 is invisible. So let's do a learning check. What is the chemical formula of nitrogen monoxide? Pause the video and resume once you complete it. Since there's no prefix for nitrogen, we only have 1 nitrogen. Monoxide means there's only 1 oxygen. So the answer is choice 1. Learning check number 2. What is the IUPAC chemical name of N2O? Pause the video and resume once you complete it. So we have 2 nitrogens, so the prefix of 2 is di, and oxygen, we only have 1. That'll be mono. So it'll be dinitrogen monoxide. Choice 4. Learning check number 3. What is the correct formula for the compound tetraphosphorus trisulfide? Pause the video and resume once you complete it. So tetra means 4 and tri means 3. So tetraphosphorus trisulfide means P4S3. So choice 1. For the first practice, I want you to write the chemical name given the chemical formula. Pause the video and resume once you complete it. Okay, so here's the answers. For the second table, I want you to write the chemical formula given the chemical name. Pause the video and resume once you complete it. Okay, so here are the answers. Now I want you to take a moment to read an article on page 26 about dihydrogen monoxide, analyze the formula, and figure out what substance is this. So if you read the article, you would have figured out it's referring to water, H2O. Water is the common name, while dihydrogen monoxide is the chemical name. Nobody, including the scientists, calls water dihydrogen monoxide. Because some substances were named before they came up with the naming rules, this also applies for NH3, which is ammonia, and CH4, which is methane. These substances oftentimes use their common names than their chemical names, even by scientists. For naming the diatomic elements, you just write the name of the element. You do not add a prefix. For example, H2 is just hydrogen. Here were the catchphrases I gave you in the first unit to help you memorize the diatomic elements. So F2 is called fluorine, not difluoride. We do not add a prefix or change the ending. The names of the diatomic elements keep the name of the element. For naming covalent compounds with a formula HX, in which H is hydrogen and X is a halogen, which is an element on group 17, so fluorine, chlorine, bromine, iodine, you do not add any prefixes to either hydrogen or the halogen. For example, HCl is basically hydrogen chloride, HF is hydrogen fluoride. So the reason we do not add a prefix is because H and the halogen always combine at a 1-to-1 ratio. So you do not need a prefix because they always combine at a 1-to-1 ratio. This is not true for other elements. For example, you have C and O. It could be 1-to-1, as in carbon monoxide, or 1-to-2 in carbon dioxide. Therefore, prefixes are needed. For the last practice, I want you to determine the name and the chemical formula of the following substances. Pause the video and resume once you complete it. So here's the answers. This concludes the video lesson. Remember to do the homework.